okay.
Hey.
Chaos Walking is a high-concept adventure movie about Todd, who lives in a dystopian world where all your inner thoughts manifest themselves audibly as well as visibly.
Why is the preacher here? You don't even need a preacher.
And it pretty much packs as much potential for success as any movie possibly can. The core concept of external inner thoughts is really original and interesting. The main actors here are some of the most recognizable young stars of the time, both Peter Parker from the MCU Spider-Man and Avengers, as well as the galaxy's most famous nobody from Star Wars. All in all, when this movie was ready to release in 2018, the only possible outcome was a massively successful birth of a new high-profile franchise. Yeah, Chaos Walking was apparently so not great that the studio executives thought it wasn't fit to even be seen. Which isn't that surprising because Chaos Walking is also a nickname for the movie's director Doug Liman, who has been in the same situation multiple times before. But whereas before he's always been able to pull aces out of his sleeve, this time the initial product was in such a state where it took them years to rewrite and reshoot and rework, which they clearly did quite a bit. They revamped the whole finale to be something much more streamlined.
We gotta get to Haven.
No, there isn't time. There's an emergency transmitter 2 floors down. If it still works, I can use it.
They gave a deeper layer to the main villain.
Anything you're good for, Dave, you want to see. Look at what you did to me. I bet you really are.
And they even, for example, added in a steamy kiss scene between the stars.
That was in additional photography, and it's such a sweet moment, bridging the understanding of the noise.
And even though I'm sure all these reworkings made this movie better compared to its initial unreleasable state, they still weren't enough to save it from being doomed on the spot with no hope for a sequel. Which is very interesting because it serves as a good case study that no matter the outside talent you bring in to change your broken movie down the line, there are some things a simple superficial band-aid just won't fix. It doesn't matter how complex your villain is if that complexity is built on nonsense. It doesn't matter how many kiss scenes for stars you add if the relationship between them is hurting the main purpose of your movie. A broken leg remains broken even after you give it a nice tan. And so what I thought would be useful to do here today is to look under these changes to find out what are some of the most foundational factors about this movie that they tried to fix, mostly unsuccessfully so. What is it about high-concept movies like Chaos Walking that you need to get right the first time, or they might very well become and forever remain unreleasable? Firstly, Chaos Walking shows that the more different special high-concept ideas you add in, the less valuable and special each one will become. So like I said, the main out-of-the-ordinary special idea here is that we live in a world where every thought you have can be heard and seen by others, known as the noise.
Very clever use of your noise, sir.
Air likes me. He thinks I'm a man.
Which is such an incredible concept because it by default creates a ton of conflict and makes even the most basic interactions into a struggle. But then, just a few minutes after we get introduced to the noise, the movie already decides that it's not enough and also adds in another special idea of this girl Viola who falls down from space. The specialty of which comes from the fact that on this planet women have gone extinct, and also because all women apparently for some reason don't have noise. And the problem that now immediately arises is that suddenly the majority of our attention is going towards something that has nothing to do with the original idea we came for.
Ever seen a spaceship before? Think it's from Earth? How do you get spaceship crash? Spaceship. Girl. It's a girl. Girl. Oh my god. You're a girl. Oh my god, girl. She's here. Yellow hair. What the hell? Space girl. Oh my god. Girl!
Right, in a movie where the special high-concept thing is supposed to be the noise of external thoughts, pretty much all the specialty now gets allocated to this other high-concept thing about there being a girl in a world of only men. Meaning that suddenly noise itself seems that much less of a crucial big deal, because our focus is instead being taken over by...
Did he say girl? Girl, space girl, zombie girl, space girl, girl.
And with every new extraordinary conceptual addition, it's the same thing. When the movie introduces the arrival of space colonizers,
4,000 people on their way to destroy us.
That's where our attention goes. When it introduces the existence of aliens,
They overran our colony and they killed all the women.
that's where our attention goes. And each time our attention goes, it goes away from the reason we're supposed to be here. In the reshoots, they clearly knew this was a problem because they tried to limit most of the other stuff to an absolute minimum, but it doesn't matter. If you establish that there are aliens on this planet in a way that is in no way connected to the noise, suddenly the noise seems that much less special because there's freaking aliens. It doesn't matter how tiny their role. If we know there's an alien in the barn, what do you think we're gonna think about?
Movie. Think about the noise. Chaos walking. Noise. The noise. The noise is important. Movie. Noise. Noise is the main point. Noise. Alien. Noise. Alien in the barn.
I understand the temptation to do every cool thing you have in your head. For example, the idea that Todd lives in a world without women and now has to go on an adventure with one is really fun and does lead to some really great moments.
What are you doing?
I'm sorry. I don't know what.
But ultimately, in a 2-hour film, you have to make choices and focus on just one conceptual thing where all aspects are connected and logically equal each other. If your movie is about a quiet world where people live in total silence that also has monsters that hunt with sound, that's one thing. But if the monsters don't hunt with sound and then there's also zombies as well as an upcoming Mayan apocalypse, that's multiple different things, and they're draining the specialty from each other. And so, if you want to make a movie about noise and someone who doesn't have it, then do that. Forget the whole women don't have noise thing. Forget the whole all women are dead thing. Forget most of the space colonization stuff and definitely forget the goddamn aliens. Instead, establish a world where both men and women show their thoughts through noise and then introduce Viola as someone who doesn't. Now you get the exact same adventure movie about an unordinary person everybody's after in a way that keeps our focus fully on what we came for. Now, the main special thing about your movie isn't the fact that there's a girl, but instead the fact that there's someone who doesn't have noise. What do you mean women don't have noise? What do you mean all women have been killed by the aliens? What aliens? Every time you add in a new high conceptual idea, you'll just end up complicating things.
Which then requires you to actually spend time exploring them to justify their existence in your movie.
Happened to all the men when we landed on this planet. Every thought in our heads on display. Didn't affect the women.
Why?
Keep it simple, stick to one interconnected thing. Because otherwise, in addition to confusion, all those other extra ideas you add will only devalue and degrade the original in a way that cannot be saved later on. The second thing to take from Chaos Walking is that regardless of how deep and complex your characters are, none of that ultimately matters unless we understand the most basic motivations driving them. A great example of this is the main villain of the movie, the Mayor. Basically, the Mayor is the leader of Todd's community and also his father figure, who above all else wants to ensure the survival of his own people. Until in the finale, it then turns out that he's actually the one behind all the women being killed, stemming from the fact that...
Look at what you did to me. You taught those men to kill because you couldn't stand the thought of all those women seeing you for what you really are. A coward. A coward. A coward.
Right, so the Mayor carries this fear-based hatred towards all women because women are able to see through him, which I guess is pretty competently complex. The only problem is that it doesn't make much sense. I mean, it could make sense if women in this world showed noise just like men, and that's how the Mayor realized what they actually thought of him and made him, as well as the other men, turn against them. But because of the added idea of women not being affected, no. And so instead, we have a main villain who turned on the entire womankind just because they might maybe potentially think bad things about him due to his noise. Something that is actually no different from women maybe potentially thinking bad things about him because of his actions, for example, which could be applied to every male character even in movies where there is no noise at all. Not to forget that it's also been established that the Mayor can hide his noise better than anyone else.
Some of us can control it better than others.
Thinking about it now, maybe controlling my noise from the start would have actually been a lot simpler than to kill every living woman.
And as for the mayor's main motivation of taking over Viola's colony ship to gain control of the planet,
I'm done living in exile. If we take her ship, we can take control of the planet.
well, it kind of falls apart when you realize that he can just march into the other communities and take control of them right now. Like, what's the point of getting a spaceship to invade a planet you're already on and could already invade? What's even the reason to invade it in the first place? What is it you need that your own community doesn't have? And you better not say women. All in all, despite the deep, complex changes down the line, because the mayor's basic motivations are so incomprehensibly inadequate, the whole character is reduced to being nothing but a blank shell with a few random splashes of color. And it's the same story with the leads. Viola's motivation to get back on her ship is totally fine, but she still suffers from different writers not sticking to the same core. One moment her motivation is to contact her ship because she needs to warn them of the upcoming ambush.
They'll be in hypersleep when they land, so they won't expect an ambush. We just can't let her warn them about us.
Could I contact my ship there? I need to warn them.
And then the next moment she needs to contact her ship because otherwise the ship will not land.
System entry will be any day. If I don't contact them soon, they might move on to the next system and I'll be stranded.
So then, which is it that we're fighting for? To wake her friends before the ship comes, or make sure the ship comes?
But to be fair, we've never been on her ship and don't know anybody there, so we don't care either way.
As for Todd, he doesn't really have any motivations to help Viola contact her ship at all. Except for the fact that, yeah.
I've just never seen a girl pretty. Are you from Earth? You're really pretty. Yellow hair, pretty, really pretty.
I'd rather stay with you, Todd. I'd rather be with you. Kiss me, Todd. Kiss me. Kiss me.
What is there for Todd at the end of the journey that pushes him forward? Why is he willing to leave his community behind when it's apparently a good place for him? None of this is established. And so ultimately, Todd goes on his adventure to help Viola just because she's a girl and girls are hot. Which I guess is technically real life, but for a movie, I think you could do something more.
Prentice will find her. We have to give her back.
We don't need that trouble.
No, but that's not what she wants, Killian.
And who's that? Oh, it's Sam!
We have aliens who are just empty shells that might as well have been cut out. We have a preacher who hunts Viola because he thinks she's an angel. Even though the space colony narrative has already established that he came here on a ship just like her and thus makes the whole angel thing just dumb. All in all, we have a bunch of characters who do things not because their core dictates it, but because the movie just decides that that's what they're doing now.
She's not a victim, she's a spy. She has to steal everything you have.
Well, I'm convinced. Time to flip sides and proactively help the people I hate.
And so before you get to any layers of complexity, you first need to establish your character's most basic inner core that everything else is built around. The strongest character here, for example, is probably the mayor's son, who doesn't even do anything, simply because his entire existence is built on the need to impress his father.
Very clever. Maybe my son can learn something from you, Todd.
And that's what you want. Simple, understandable, relatable. Once you have that, then worry about the complex Oscar stuff. And still always in a way that the core can support. Finally, Chaos Walking also shows that no matter what kind of cool external events and set pieces you add in, unless they've been established to advance what we're doing, it'll all just feel like pointless visual noise. In the first 30 minutes, for example, in typical Doug Liman fashion, there is a bunch of stuff happening. We're getting introduced to the noise, we're crashing down from space, we're chasing a thief through the woods, we're escaping a village of men. I mean, we're doing all kinds of cool shit, regardless of whether there even is any reason to do it. And the problem is exactly that because we're doing things without a clear larger purpose, because we're moving without a destination, we're not actually doing or moving at all. We're just seeing a bunch of random pointless side events that happen only because someone thought they'd be cool. Like if Viola's whole purpose for coming is to find the first settlers,
Think the settlers are still alive down there?
If they are, they're gonna be happy to see us.
then why is she suddenly stealing and running from them to prompt a chase scene? What I mean here is kinda like the earlier character motivation point, but only in external form. For example, if Viola just happens to be hiding in Todd's shed just as someone comes looking for her, that's unmotivated and random. But if, on the other hand, you have an earlier scene where Viola sees Todd take her bag and then follows him to the shed to get it back because she needs something from it, that's progress with a purpose. That way, when the mayor shows up to look for her, her being in the shed is a consequential result of something and doesn't happen just because. To give the movie credit, it does then establish the ultimate goal of going to this other community so that Viola can contact her ship. I mean, yeah, it's still a bit flimsy because it hasn't been established that the other community can even help her contact her ship in the first place.
Could I contact my ship there? Yeah. I have no idea. I don't know. Shut up.
But at least it's something. Fair enough. The problem still remains that despite there being a destination, the journey itself physically consists of us just spending time walking and eating and sleeping without any clear points of progression to get us closer to where we're going. For example, there's a scene soon after where Todd and Viola come across this alien, which of course then quickly leads to... And the issue here is that fighting the alien isn't something we need to do. It's not an obstacle we have to overcome to move a step closer to the other community. I mean, there's really no reason to fight the alien at all because apparently it's not even hostile.
I have to go now. My planet needs me.
Meaning that this whole event is ultimately reduced to being nothing but random pointless noise that exists only because, hey look, it's an alien. Hey look, remember the conspiracy of all women here being dead. This is a weird comparison, but I saw the movie Blood Diamond recently and there's a very similar scene in it. Essentially, our main heroes Archer and Solomon are on a journey across Africa to get to this big diamond as well as Solomon's son, when they suddenly come across this guarded bridge blocking their way.
Not the way. Bridge is the only way across.
And so our hero's need of getting past this point organically results in...
Bring that pink chicken skin over here, huh?
Mission accomplished. Good work.
Right, so the difference you'll spot is that whereas in Blood Diamond, this roadblock is an obstacle that we have to cross to get one step closer to our ultimate objective, in Chaos Walking, this alien is a random side event that we fight just for the heck of it, even though doing so doesn't really get us anywhere. One is purposefully powerful, the other is just cool noise. The point here being that the events of your movie have to be a consequential result of something as well as result in something that gives us the feeling of progression, whether that means getting closer to an external plot objective or a character's internal want. If our main destination has been established to be a specific place where we can contact Viola's ship, you can't just then add in a finale where we randomly stumble upon a different place where we can also do so, and then never have to in any way resolve that original destination at all.
We gotta get to Haven.
No, there isn't time.
Maybe this revamped finale is an improvement over the original, but if it doesn't serve as a progressive next step to where it's gone before, it might as well not be. Which is why, just like with the earlier points, it doesn't matter what external events you change or add in down the line. Unless your payoff pays off your earlier setup and this way moves us to the next step, it's just gonna end up being random, pointless noise. And the more of that noise you generate, the bigger the chances that you'll have an unreleasable movie consisting mostly of nothing but chaos and walking.